What'd you think about yesterday?
I thought it was really, really nice and exciting, and showed a lot of appreciation for what we did do during the World War II, for what I did, and everybody was there, many of us.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that first, but let's start at the beginning. I read your bio. You were 17 years old.
Yeah, I graduated from high school. I went to a nice private high school. And then like I say, got $17 from my relatives at our little graduation party at my house in Holton.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was lucky enough in the college that I had set up to go to, or school,
Mm-hmm.
they closed it right about the time that I graduated from high school, because they took it over for the war, for the veterans, not the veterans, but the soldiers.
Yeah.
Loring Air Force Base was big, and then they had quite a nice airport in Presque Isle, Maine.
So you were in high school when Pearl Harbor was attacked, though, right?
Pardon?
You were in high school.
My very last year, 1941, December
Right.
7th.
And where were you that day? You were
Right.
Sunday. You were at home?
We were in my school, or in my home where I rented
Okay.
while I went there.
And what did you think when you heard about the attack?
Made us sick, and the sad part of it was the first group of men that were going out to be in the service left right from our town, and it was right near our school. Our principal was the greatest man you could ever know, and he let us all out to go down and say goodbye to the busload of the first. And one of my very favorite friends, a boyfriend kind of, was one that was leaving too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of sad for all of us.
Sure. So how many of them came back?
Most of my friends did, but one of my neighbors right down from where I lived on my farm where I grew up got killed about the very last day of the war.
Wow, the last day of the war.
And the man that I was married to this last time, he was in the Air Force, and they were ready to get shot down, and he was a gunner, and he wanted to be a tail gunner, but he was too tall, so he was a side gunner. So they all had to bail out because they were going to have a plane crash.
Wow.
It was their very last mission.
So
But anyway, he watched, and the captain told him, he says, it was a German plane falling and was going to get him.
Mm.
And he said, and his husband, my husband, they call him Smitty's, and he said, you got to get him. He says to the pilot, he says, don't worry, I will.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his foot. About everybody else had to bail out, and they had to get rid of all their equipment, their guns, and the whole 9 yards, anything that was basic. So when they got all about ready for him to leave out, and the only one to be left was the pilot said, stay on. He said, I think I can land us all right.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute they landed over Turkey somewhere, they were right there to capture him.
Yeah.
The last day of the war, he didn't know it ended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you come from what they call the greatest generation. How do you feel about that designation? Being part of the greatest generation that kind of helped save the world from tyranny.
Well, I think it's just wonderful
Mm-hmm.
that we did as well as we did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great that the women did work. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. It was just.
Because they really, really needed us.
Mm-hmm. So this award yesterday.
Yes.
So tell me about yesterday, just from the beginning of the day and the ceremony. What was your highlight, if you will?
Well, probably about one of my greatest highlights was hearing the band. Because I love the music, and they do such a beautiful job, all the instruments. But there were a lot of nice speeches, and the woman from Maine, who was very important in our government and stuff, she gave a speech.
Susan Collins.
Yeah,
Right.
and we lived fairly near where she grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was a great day. Everybody was so sociable, and I'll tell you one thing, I've been real pleased with how nice everybody has been to us.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter whether we're in the street or in the hotel or wherever we are, they're just so polite and nice, just like you are.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
You too.
Well, tell me about your job as a Rosie.
Okay, now when I went there, if you get the job and you're going to go to work in were they gonna rebuild all the engines, made them for the V-bombers and the whole 9 yards, any kind of a, at Pratt Whitney in East Hartford, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And when you first get there to take your job, you have to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn about all the tools and things you have to use, like your micrometers or vernier calipers, and you have to learn how to read blueprints and the whole 9 yards. And then you begin to study the machines. Up in there flipped when I heard them all and saw them all the first time. Walked into the room, I thought, oh, heavenly day. But anyway, I was tomboy enough and helped my dad enough on the farm that it wasn't anything that alarmed me that bad when it come to learning it or handling it or doing it.
Yeah.
And found that little place.
That's okay. What did you, by the way, talking about your dad and your mom, what did your parents think about you going off?
Oh, they were happy that they were great parents, and and my mother wrote me a letter every single week for 3 years.
Wow.
Never missed.
Wow. And they were 450 miles away from you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were up the northern part of the state of Maine.
Part of your bio interests me. You said you worked all night and then you played all day.
We did.
Okay, tell me about that.
Because we worked on the night shift, which started at 11.
Okay.
And then we get out at 7 in the morning. And of course, we're covered with oil and stuff, so you're supposed to go home, and which we did, all of us. You have to get right in the shower and scrub yourself real good to get rid of all the oil and everything on your body, so you won't break out in a rash or anything.
So you were on a softball and a basketball team?
Yeah, I loved basketball. I played. We had a great team, and we had a competition with the other schools and things around.
And I see you bought war bonds, though, right?
Pardon?
You bought a war bond every week?
Yeah, I did it. Yep.
Okay.
So got it right in there.
Let me ask you. A lot of people talk about the $17 and all that. What did you make a day or an hour as a Rosie?
I couldn't tell you for sure how we started, but it's a lot more money than I'd ever had.
Yeah.
And I was lucky when I did get all trained and I got past the test, which was amazing. I thought the man was calling me down to scold me or telling me I'd done everything wrong, but when he said, you have 100, I pretty near flipped. And was lucky I had taken my last year of geometry in high school.
But was there an hourly wage for you in your job?
Yes, there was when we started, and but we were lucky in the different departments that I worked. Once I got over into the main grinding and really doing it, if we made good production, then we got an extra bonus. And I was lucky in all the places that I worked that I got that along with my paycheck, which made it really nice. Wow. And like I say, I bought a bond every week or every time so that I'd have it to go back to school with.
A lot of talk about I've talked to a number of Rosies, and they said that it was great, but when the war was over, the men came home. We all pretty much got the pink slip. Did that happen to you?
No.
Oh, great. How did you manage to not get, because you maintain your work there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Mom, you said that the plant that you worked at closed when the war ended.
They shut it right
just
down.
Shut it right down.
Oh, okay.
But
for the time being.
Yeah.
And then she was getting ready to get married.
Oh, okay.
And had made plans to get married when she's back home, and they sent her a letter to come back.
Oh, okay.
But because she had plans.
It shows how good a worker you were. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but overall, the Rosie movement, there's a lot of history about how it was planted the seeds of the women's movement and the civil rights movement because it showed that the women can do the work, while the men were out at war. But it wasn't immediate. It took a while, right? What do you think? What do you think of that?
Yeah.
What do you think about the Rosie's movement and what it meant?
Well, I'll tell you a good story.
Okay.
To prove it all. One of my very favorite machines were these great big machines I had to build. They call the Pratt Whitney gear grinder, and I was working on the cams to do all the teeth that were in the inside and everything. and I had to run 2 together, and I had 3 machines. That's how bad us girls, women had to take over.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a man that worked beside me, had 3 machines the same as mine,
Okay.
who was a German man. And he was leaving to go to the beach, to
Okay.
leave, and I felt real bad. He gave me this toolbox and stuff. But anyway, the thing was, I come into work like after the next shift, and you check you have to leave the percentage what you're doing ready, because it takes so long to do that particular job and you get it right, because you got to get it so you can't get away without anything.
Yeah.
Way down in the thousands.
You
But
mentioned-
anyway, I get in this morning and you check everything to make sure it hasn't anything happened to it, and they had scrapped my stuff. So I knew I didn't do it,
Oh,
because you check all of it before you leave. And the funny part of it was, the man that was next to me, he knew that I wouldn't do it either. And his three were all right.
The German man knew that,
Yeah.
yes.
So then he said, I know what we'll do. He says, I'll run your machines and you run mine tonight. And the next morning it was the very same thing.
Oh,
So they had to get after this man that had done the damage.
okay.
And he got fired.
And you scored 100, you said, on your
Yeah,
file.
on my test and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah.
Mom, you told me that that the man that had done that to your machine said that he didn't think women could run machines.
That's what his complaint was.
Well, that's what
We're
I've
jealous
heard. Yep.
of
We've heard a
it.
lot of stories about how women weren't really, women and minorities weren't really
Yeah.
welcomed, and that's one of the Rosie's the Riveter movements, is that it did open the door
Yeah.
to an
Yeah.
extent.
And this very same man that broke, when I first walked in and I started out on the first very machine I run, was a milling machine to get started with. I suppose it's the best, easiest one. They're all very dangerous. And I made up my mind, they're just like a mad dog. If I let them bite me, they will.
Okay.
And a lot of people, I saw a lot of people get hurt real
Yeah.
bad.
Okay.
Yeah, but the man told me after the first night he had to break me in, he says, I'm so relieved. He says, I thought it would be awful to have the woman. And, but he said, you took it just like a duck takes the water. So
Yeah.
I was happy and he was happy.
It must have been a very difficult time. Now, when the war was over, you said you went on and got married and had a family and all that.
Raised 2 kids and I went back to school.
Oh.
I definitely wanted to train real bad, and I don't know where it got into my system. I think it was from the war and so many people getting in trouble. It was not enough nurses that had to go train. I really wanted to go train for a nurse, which I did.
Okay. So, when did you actually begin to get solicited to go become a Rosie? When did that happen? Was it late in life that the
It was
Rosie?
later in life, because I said way back in 41, right after the war started. So it was a while before this got going. In fact, I didn't know much about it. There was an ad in our paper back when the big sickness was going with all of our COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And so I thought, there's not much I can do, and Barbara would write everything, so
Right.
we decided we'd answer it.
Well,
A
that's
little tiny ad in the local paper,
like,
just 4 or 5
Are
years
you a Rosie
ago.
kind of thing? Is that
Yeah.
what the ad said? Are you a Rosie?
Yes,
Oh,
said,
wow.
are you a Rosie? I mean, this is the Holton Pioneer Times. It's
Right.
like,
How many women out there you think are like maybe your age or younger or older who don't know they're a Rosie? You think there's lots of them?
After being here, I think that a lot of people do know that for sure they are. But right in my hometown, I know one girl that I didn't know until just her funeral of all things here a few weeks back, that she worked on the Navy and the ships down in Portland.
Yeah.
Which lived right above me where I grew up, and I never knew it till I saw it in her obituaries.
Okay.
And then and then another girl of mine had to pack the
Parachutes.
parachutes, yeah.
Okay. So if you had a message for, if somebody's watching this, and if you say, if they're thinking, well, I went in a factory, I did something in the war, what do you suggest they do? You think they should join the Rosies? Like come to these events like this?
But they'd have to have a job.
Well, that's a minute.
Yeah.
If they had a job, no matter what the job was, whether it was building planes or doing what you do, or even, supply chains, or, it's just, we've heard stories about Rosies who said, I'm not a Rosie because I'm not a riveter. And then what'd you do? And this is Tammy Brumley. She said her relative said, well, I painted bombs. So she goes, oh, well, you're a Rosie. Because people watching this, if they think there's somebody in their family who might have been a Rosie, you suggest they go and kind of like,
Find them.
Find them. Yeah.
Because they deserve
Okay.
the praise
Okay.
and the thank everybody that we meet here at the meetings and the suppers that aren't Rosies. They're all congratulated us or
Yeah.
wish us best, whatever.
Would you like to add anything more? Because I understand you have an appointment at the White House.
Yeah,
How cool is that?
that's great. We haven't, the three of us, been all tied up
Yeah.
for a little vacation. So that was really, we've all been, we got all set one other time to go to a Rosie program. It was in New York, which would have been a lot handier for us, but then when COVID came along, all that was canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barbara, would you like to say anything about your mom?
Well, I was sharing yesterday that Mom's been talking about her experience throughout my lifetime, and it would just be these little pockets of talking about this, or it would come up at different times. My dad was in the Navy. He was a Seabee, and he was in the Normandy invasion. And then when Mom married her second husband, he was in the Air Force. But Mom, every once in a while, I know where they are in this drawer down in one of the bedrooms. There's this whole group of books with the pictures of the big machines. So every once in a while, she would get them or speak of it, and then it's been growing, and certainly this week has really, really brought it to mind how significant her contribution was, both for her and for her family, but for the country. And I don't think I really realized how really important it was to her, how special and
How proud you are.
yeah, and how proud, yeah. Many times this week. In fact, we've been sending photos we have a large extended family, and many people have written back and said that they were brought to tears. So it's recognition long overdue. I mean, I've heard a few comments. Why'd they wait so long?
How about you, Rhonda?
I guess this whole experience, she's always been a really cool gram. I always thought, she helped me with my math homework when I was in high school. When I came out, we'd sat at the table, and I was always like, oh, I can't believe my grandmother's helping me with my math homework. And I just loved, hearing her stories, when she left to go, and then she came back, and just recently, it's bringing up all kinds of stories. And she said that she wishes she could have come back and worked. She enjoyed being away. She wanted this career. She was very independent, very strong, and I think coming from this, she was very important. But that just stuck out to me. She's awesome.
Best grandma ever?
Best grandma ever.
Okay.
I'm the best granddaughter ever too. I got about 5 of those. I was sorry I hadn't saved one of my uniforms that you had to wear, and but I was not much of a saver. I didn't have a lot of room to get settled, and but I wished I had one. They had cute little blue shirts with their emblem, the aircraft Pratt & Whitney's design on the sleeve. Of course, we had to eat for hair covered all the time. That was fun because I'd make a date once in a while. My hair was so long, nobody knew that at work. They'd come to pick me up, and wasn't sure they had the right person.
Mom,
because my hair was so long.
were you aware that that what you did either then or maybe like 10, 20, 30 years later, were you aware that what you did helped lay the foundation for women having more opportunities?
Yes, but the sad part of it was, like when it probably was the same pretty much in a lot of places back in 41, if any of the black girls could not run machines.
So
They could run the elevators,
there's still discrimination.
yeah. So that's outgrown, which is wonderful.
Okay. Well, even, thank you so much for your time. I
You're
was
very
told you have
welcome.
a 10:30 appointment, so I'll let you go. We'll let you go, but we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to
Thank
us.
you.
And,
It was nice
on behalf
talking
of
to you.
Pacific Historic Parks.
If we ever get to Hawaii, we'll look you up.
Okay, and congratulations, and the next time you come to Pearl Harbor, you gotta come see me, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
You know my birthday's I'm gonna be 100, so
Well, happy birthday.
kind of worries
You
me
know,
that maybe I won't ever make that trip.
I saw that on there,
I won't give up anyway.
Hey, how about one more of this?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Get the girls.
There you
Let's
go.
go.
So
She's got
what's
everything.
your slogan? Come on. We can.
We can
do
do
it.
it.
And you did it.
We did it.
You got the medal.
It really does. You know, like in our church when we have Memorial Day, like I really actually was in the war, in the service in a way, but everybody makes me stand up,
Oh,
even so,
okay.
which is really nice of them.
What you gonna do with your medal, by the way? Where's it gonna go, in your house?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay. Well, take care of that now.
Yeah,
okay?
I will, don't you worry.